Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back for this afternoon plenary session. I hope you are enjoying as much as I am all the sessions so far. I think we have had a lot of very interesting insights, and during the next 10 minutes, I will be discussing a little bit what at EDP we believe needs to happen for...
Please make your way to the keynote stage for our evening remarks. Keynote stage.
What we think needs to happen for us towards what we feel it's a decisive decade, and specifically, what is the role that electric mobility plays on that. When we think about why this decade is a very decisive decade, we think about tackling one of the biggest battles that we as a society have, which is to tackle climate change. We are only halfway through 2024, and if we look back, we already see throughout all corners of the world that they had to endure extreme weather events. Just looking back over the past 2 months, in Rio Grande do Sul in Brazil, they had very heavy rainfall for more than 10 consecutive days. This killed more than 200...
Please make your way to the keynote stage for our final remarks starting now, and our evening keynote session.
This killed more than 200 people in Brazil. Around the same time, in New Delhi, in India, we were experiencing temperatures above 52 degrees Celsius. And in Kenya, it was being plagued by floods and heavy rains that displaced more than 200,000 people and killed more than 200 people. I think today, happily, there is a growing consensus that we cannot deny climate change. It's happening in front of our eyes, and I think at a faster pace than any of us anticipated. But we also have a growing consensus that we cannot afford to lose any more time. This is the decade where we need to go from talks and intentions to actions, and that's why we feel it's time to gear up. But I think I'm also optimistic. And I'm optimistic for three main reasons. The first one is that we do know what is the main problem that we need to tackle, and that's the dependence on fossil fuels. But we also know that there is a solution, and the solution is we need to transition to clean energy sources. Second thing is, most of the transition, or a very significant part, it's within our reach. Today, renewables already account for 1/3 of the electricity generation. And if we look 3 years into the future, the new renewable capacity that we expect will come online is equal almost to the entire power capacity of China. This is being driven by declining cost, that it's improving the returns, and maturing technology, but more importantly, investors are backing this transformation. During 2023, we invested more than $1.8 trillion in clean energy transition, not just for renewable deployment, but also in innovation, in bringing new technologies into the field. And this is close to a 20% year-on-year increase. But the third and final reason why I'm also optimistic is that actually it only relies on us. The success of this relies on the hands of everyone that is here today, and everyone also, companies and families that are abroad. And there are two important success factors for this transition. To reach carbon neutrality by 2050, we need, on the one hand, to have 90% of the electricity being produced by renewable sources, but we also need that 50% of all the energy we consume is electricity, so that we are transitioning away from fossil fuels. That leads to the question, who bears the responsibility? Who needs to act? And when we at EDP think about responsibility, we think it's a shared responsibility. We think that we utilities, we energy companies, we have the responsibility to pave the way, together with governments. We need to make sure that we do the investments in renewables, but that we also create the conditions that families and companies can do their bit, their responsibility. And what do families and companies need to do? They need to ensure that they are changing the way that we consume energy, the way that we move, the way that we at our houses consume energy and the equipment use, the way that our industrial processes are happening. And we believe that we at EDP, we are doing our share. We were actually pioneers in investing in renewable energies. We started back in 2005. Back then, renewable generation already accounted to around 20% of our generation. And it's with great pride that when we look at the first quarter of this year, 95%, 95 of all the energy that we at EDP generated was from renewable sources. But we don't want to stop here. That's why we are committing more than 70 billion in investment over the next 3 years to deploy an additional 3 gigawatts of new renewable capacity per year with a very clear objective. We want to be 100% green by 2030, and we want to be net zero by 2040. But we understand that, as I was commenting earlier, our responsibility does not end up there. We need to help consumers, we need to help families and businesses do their share of the pie as well. And there are 3 main things that we need to help them do. First one, we need to help them consume more efficiently. And this is not about doing less. This is about doing the same thing, but with less energy consumption. The second thing is that the energy transition, technology and innovation today allows families and companies to produce, store and consume energy directly from the sun. And the sun is a virtually inexhaustible source of energy. And also, it's perhaps the cheapest and most affordable energy that families and companies can rely on. Now, every time I take a flight, whenever I'm landing, I always look at the rooftops of the cities that I'm visiting. And it's impressive. Year after year, I see more solar panels. But there's still a lot of rooftops that we have not yet leveraged to deploy distributed generation. And why is distributed generation important? Because it's the fastest way, in terms of installation, in terms of permitting, to be able to deploy new renewable capacity. We see that appetite. We are present in more than 17 markets with distributed generation solutions. We have already installed for families and businesses more than 2 gigawatt peaks of capacity, but we need to continue to do more. The third thing that is mainly the reason why we are here today is that we need to change the way we consume energy. And one of the things we need to do is change the way we commute. Electrification is one of them, but it's not the only one. We've been discussing a lot about connected cars, shared mobility, but we definitely need to change the way we move. Because transport alone accounts for 25% of the CO2 global emissions. Adoption is growing, and that's good. Today, we already have globally close to 40 million electric vehicles cars on the road. Sales in 2023, year on year, grew by more than 30%. But the bad news is that even with that growth, road transport is still not on track for carbon neutrality by 2050. We are moving fast, but we are not moving fast enough. And that forces us a lot of times to reflect what can we do different or what do we need to be doing faster. And I think there are 3 important lenses that we can never forget. And I'll go one by one. First, we need to be customer-centric. 55% of the CO2 cumulative reductions that need to happen by 2050 will be the result of decisions that family and business make. Decisions like, I'm going to buy an electric car. Decisions like, I will take public transportations. And if it is a decision they make, it needs to be one that makes economic sense, but also that will provide them with a good experience. 3 examples of what being customer-centric means. When we are thinking about transportations, we need to ensure that electric mobility is covering all the use cases. It's covering not just the way we charge when we are at our houses, but when we are at work, when we are on our everyday-to-day commuting. It needs to cover short distance, but long distance as well. The second thing is we need to ensure that the charging experience is convenient. It's smooth. I sometimes even say that we have a lot of reasons why it should even be smoother than if we have to refill a car, because we will no longer need to go to a gas station. The second thing that we all need to work together is to continue to overcome the barriers to adoption, whether it is price affordability, range anxiety, or even just having grid capacity to charge our cars. The second very important learning over the last years of journey is we cannot do this alone. We need to partner and we need to collaborate. And I'll give 3 concrete examples. One, if you want to make this a convenient experience, we need to ensure that the consumers can charge their car on their day-to-day life. So when they go to the retail store, to the supermarket, to a restaurant, we need to partner with the owners of this location to ensure that they can charge when they are moving. The second thing is that we need to continue to work to simplify what the electrification journey means, starting from the moment they make the decision to the moment they are using. That means we need to partner, for example, with OEMs, but we also need to partner with EV users, associations, so that we can listen to their feedback. Finally, we need to work with other stakeholders, whether it is DSOs and TCOs to address the connection issues, the capacity issues, whether it is with other CPOs, or with regulators and governments and municipalities. Final point that we need to work on. We need to continue to invest in technology and innovation. We've done a lot, but we have not done enough. We need to continue to ensure that we are thinking about mobility as a digital-first solution. We need to continue to work to have a good connection between the different use cases. Things like dynamic pricing, things like connecting electric mobility with solar and with storage solutions. But we also need to continue to address the lack of grid capacity. That with smart charging solutions, but also leveraging one of the most valuable assets that is on an electric car, which is the battery. It's basically batteries on wheels and technologies like vehicle to the grid that we've been discussing a lot today. We need to continue to invest money into the technology and into the business model. To wrap up, final thought. We do believe that this is the decisive decade, and this is perhaps the greatest revolution that we will need to overcome. But we know what the most powerful weapon is, and it is to promote the transition to clean energy sources. And a lot of the technology we have today already means that this transition is within reach. So the success lies mostly in our hands, in companies, in ourselves as consumers, and also in the corporations that we represent. So I hope that you have a good afternoon. I hope to see you also very soon in the cocktail across the hall, and that the later on sessions continue to be very interesting. Thanks, everyone. Enjoy the day.